Some movies are controversial and other movies are controversial. They not only don't shy away from ruffling 4 or 5 feathers, they go out of their way to stroke the bird so hard that each and every feather makes for a big ruffly mess. Happiness is that movie. Todd Solondz found a way to make a funny film that's also about as taboo as possible. But what isn't taboo, and this is a very hard left turn, is what you can buy from Spark Plug Coffee. Happiness is drinking coffee and not offending everybody in the world. Our delightful associates at Spark Plug Coffee offer many blends and roasts, including rotating seasonal blends. And what's in those bags? Why, the freshest, fairly traded, premium Arabica beans that you can find in Canada. And you don't have to be stuck in the idea of putting caffeine into your gutty what's. You can buy half calf or decaf. No caffeine for you people. Caffeine for most, probably, though. Spark Plug delivers to folks in the U.S. and Canada. I'm not judging. Whatever you want to drink. And they'll do that within a week. Canadians will even get free shipping. But if you decide to sign up for the Autopilot Coffee Club, then your membership will let you take advantage of a whole whack of perks and deals. And membership means you save money on every order. The Spark people will allow you to customize to get your orders when it suits you. So if you're busy cutting up a corpse, or crank calling random women, or even going so far as to do something even more unforgivable involving children, you can pause or cancel your membership. This ain't no Coffee of the Month Club, people. And how do you acquire this excellent product? You just go to sparkplug.coffee/HYES. Use our HYES promo code and you will save 20% off your next order. Okay, shiny happy people, we hope you'll go the Spark Plug route, but we're about to go the happiness route. Warning though, this is rough subject matter. Bev, tap our maestro on the shoulder and then we can start gabbing about the film in about 10 seconds.
And action! Have you ever seen
Happiness? Joyous 6 days into November, movie monkeys, and thank you for listening to the 547th cum shot, known as Have You Ever Seen? There are 2 cum shots in one movie. Or are there more than that? There are definitely 2. We do, in fact, sometimes talk about movies like this that are filled with cum and craziness and crying. So much crying. And we can confirm that spoilers are in the offing, whether the subject matter is trigger-inducing or not. And for this movie, there's a lot of trigger-inducing stuff. So if you're sensitive, then just don't even bother. I'm the guy who's been to Florida a few times, but I don't recall touching myself while looking at a hot woman by the pool. Ryan Ellis. I said I don't recall looking at one. I may have. Well, I looked at them, you know what I'm saying. And here's the woman staring me down who probably wouldn't want to have a relationship with John Lovitz or talk dirty with Phil Hoffman any more than the Jordan sisters do. My wife, Bev.
That's me.
Okay, the coming attractions opinion question for one of our highest ever downloads, I'm sure, long term. Happiness. One of the characters commits suicide in Happiness. That is, of course, John Lovitz, off screen, but they do talk about it. We see his dead body. Who will be next?
So you know there's a correct answer to this, right?
In the script, but not in the movie itself, is there?
There's a sequel, and in the sequel, a character kills himself.
Who's that?
It's Alan.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Did you know that? You didn't know that when you came up with the question? It was just kind of like a guess?
Sadness?
Is it
sadness? Even happier?
It's Life During Wartime. You've seen it, haven't you?
Oh, I didn't remember that being a sequel.
He recast every single actor. So it's a little confusing.
Oh, I think I read about that, actually. Just didn't really register it.
It's a good movie. If you like Todd Solondz, definitely recommend it. But it is not peak Todd Solondz. It's not as good as Happiness. And I saw it once, and I didn't consider it super memorable. I looked it up because I was like, I swear something like that happens. And I knew that so many of the characters came back. So I was like, are any of them gone in that movie? And in the course of that film, Alan takes his life.
Who plays him in that, do you know?
Oh, Pee Wee Herman?
Really? Paul Rubens, huh?
Yeah. No. Paul Rubens plays somebody. Yeah. He might play Andy because Andy comes back in flashbacks. Or it's that guy from The Wire whose name I always forget.
Michael Kenneth Williams.
That's it. Yeah. Omar from The Wire, right?
Okay, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, he plays
villain
Alan.
In The Wire.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, my thing, because I didn't know that, Billy, he came for the first time, which made him happy, and it's only downhill from here, kid. Might as well just end it all and go out on top. You had an orgasm, just fucking die.
Quickly, before your family messes you up permanently.
Okay, that was a joke, but I read that Alan commits suicide in the original screenplay, and now you're confirming that he does in the sequel with a different character. And before I even knew that, I'd written down here, it's actually likely to be him. Although, in Todd Solondz's original screenplay, the one who's really most likely to take his own life, because this is in that screenplay, is Bill, Billy's dad. So he's dead one way or another because I think he might kill himself, but then he might get murdered anyway. We don't see that in this movie. I'm basing it on the screenplay, and this was all supposed to be speculation. I didn't know there's an actual answer to this. My joke was Billy. My real answer is maybe Alan, but definitely Bill.
You know who I think probably the most suicidal character would be in this movie would be Lenny, their dad. Because he is the one character who seems to realize that
he feels nothing.
It's never going to get better. There's no solution to his problems. Everyone else seems to be clamoring for something to fix their problems, and he's the one that has this existential crisis and comes to the conclusion that he's truly numb, that he can't feel anything. That's the depths of depression that is harder to recover from. And that makes you want to end it all.
Yeah, he's in an affair with Diane. They fuck on the couch. He seems like he feels absolutely nothing during and certainly right after that. And it's not like he was dying to be with her in the first place, but that seemed to be the fallback from his own wife. And I pointed out when we first see her, because I haven't seen this movie in a long time, most of it was new to me all over again, how funny she is. Louise Lasser is quite funny in this. You'd think that he'd want to be with somebody who at least, well, she doesn't make him laugh, but she should. But then Diane, he feels nothing for. So you might be right. Maybe he's the one. There are so many answers to this.
Yeah,
how many movies where that's true, and yet this movie succeeds as a comedy? So, yes, you can make a funny film about pedophilia. Was released by Good Machine and Killer Films 25 years ago in mid-October 1998. A movie with this kind of subject matter would be lucky not to be a total failure, and this wasn't. It cost a little over $2 million to make and went on to gross about $3 million, so not incredible, but not a disaster. But Bev, this is a fairly long movie with all kinds of plot points to set up, so please give us a skinny on happiness.
Meet the Jordan sisters. Trish, a suburban housewife who, quote, has it all, including a doctor husband who's a pedophilic sexual predator. Helen, a glamorous, successful writer who's so numb that she's entertaining the advances of Alan, her mouth-breathing neighbor who makes obscene phone calls to her. And Joy, the sensitive and floundering musician who has a soft spot for losers and a blind spot for red flags.
And the men intertwine with all of them. Yeah, this is one of those movies that does tie everybody together pretty well because Alan is Bill's patient. We'll get through the rest of the tying together stuff as we go through here. But anyway, that's a good example right there. And also, psychiatrist. I don't trust those guys because they want to fuck kids. Oh my God, he said it. They fuck kids. Well,
another thing that might send Alan over the edge is when he learns that his shrink is a pedophile who's going to prison.
Well, Alan was worried about being boring, and his priest. Funny slip there. His psychiatrist is going through his grocery list in his head. I remember I wrote a review many years ago about some movie that was so dull to me that I was going through my grocery list because I was going to see the movie where I used to live in my condo and walk past a grocery store and get stuff. And I'm thinking, I didn't have a physical list. I need this and this and this. And I wrote that in the review because I literally thought that hours before when I saw the film. That's what this guy's doing with a man who says in that session, I'm very boring. Well, the psychiatrist with his interior monologue that we hear proves it. Or, in a nutshell, again with the sandwiches. We had Norman Bates and his constant sandwich eating in Psycho 2 last week. Now the key scene in this film is of a man feeding a kid some drugged tuna fish.
Oh man, what a scene. Also, everybody compares that scene to Psycho. Because in Psycho, famously, you have the scene where Norman Bates is trying to get rid of the car, and he goes to the swamp, and he lets it roll in.
And we should want that not to happen, but we do.
Yeah, the moment where the car stops, even though the ass end is still sticking out, and the license plate is visible, and he has this look of distress on his face, and when that car sinks under, you feel relief for the murderer.
And you should not.
And you should not. And I think the tuna fish sandwich scene is a scene that demonstrates how effectively manipulative films can be because it never condones his actions. When people say this film is controversial, so much of it revolves around the story with Dylan Baker's character Bill, who is a pedophile who rapes children. You don't see it in the movie. You don't see it actually take place. But you see the machinations of how he gets Johnny Grasso in the first place. And then is implied that there's a second child, but they don't get into it
he
so
did
much.
It, though.
Oh, no, he 100% did it. I mean, it's revealed when the cops come to his door about Johnny Grasso, and he asks, so what was it about Ronald Farber? And they're like, we didn't say Ronald Farber.
That's great writing, by the way.
Oh, the screenplay is out of this world. There are so many details that come together. It's almost like a Coen Brothers level of interweaving and cleverness and humor.
Or Seinfeld-esque, tying it all together.
Pulling it off, too, because I think a lot of films would try to do this, especially in the 90s, it would probably try to be edgy and try to be really dark and never pull it off with the panache that this film does.
They even make us care about the child molester, the pedophile.
When people say this film is controversial, it's hardly the only film in the 90s that had pedophilia in it, but it's one of the very few films ever made that shows actual true empathy towards a pedophile.
Because he's a good dad, for one thing.
He's a good dad, and he's a man who doesn't want to be this way.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do this. Well, he does want to do this, but he's so strongly compelled by his urges, by the part of his brain that's broken. And that's what people objected to, that you kind of feel bad for him.
That's what good art does. It challenges you. It makes you
totally
look at something and think, I don't like that I feel this way. Good. Way too many young people don't want to ever feel bad. We need to feel bad about things sometimes.
You're going to be
them through.
Way more effective at protecting children if you treat pedophiles like people.
Right.
Than like monsters that we'll never understand. Just lock them up and throw away the key.
Let's never discuss it either.
We talked about this a little with the Florida Project, where the pedophile in the Florida Project, you and I actually disagree. I think he's too creepy. You think he's not that creepy.
Well, Defoe is guessing that he is a child molester.
Because of his behavior, but also he looks off, right?
I guess so. I love to see him because of Defoe, mostly.
A great depiction of a child molester would be the movie Doubt, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, where he's playing a child molester who's a priest. He is a trusted guy. He's a charming guy. The entire congregation loves him. He's incredibly influential and powerful. Even as an audience member, you're like, damn, him? Really? That's what child molesters are actually like. They can wear sheep's clothing very well. Or even that analogy isn't right, because they are human beings who can love their children, who can be good at their jobs, who can carry on with their life in lots of other ways and still do this horrible crime because they were truly born with a broken brain. And I guess we're just diving right in the deep end of the part that's going to make lots of people uncomfortable. But I think if you're uncomfortable about this movie, you're probably not listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Or maybe you are because you want to understand why people like it, even if it turned you off so dramatically. It's definitely not for anybody who's sensitive about the subject matter.
Yeah, right.
If you're a victim yourself, or if you have suicidal ideation yourself, there's all kinds of reasons why this movie might be like harmful to your psyche. I read this really interesting review. Actually, it wasn't a review. It was this essay that this critic wrote, Matt Zoller-Seitz.
He's a film reviewer. Right?
Okay, yeah, you know him. So he had panned Happiness when it first came out. He was one of the few critics that really hated it. And then he did an about-face in 2010 when Life During Wartime came out, and he apologized to Solondz and said that he had been wrong. He thought that he had had what he called an allergic reaction to the film because he was in a good place in his life and he felt that threatened him. What he thought was stability and happiness was all a dream. And I think that like attests so much to the authenticity of the film that it gets to the bottom of the banality of misery.
We just got out of Scary Movie Month. We covered 7 movies. I covered all 7, but you were part of 4 of them, and I did 3 on my own. Why do we watch scary movies? I talked about this in, I think, Friday the 13th. Why do we care? Why do those movies make any money at all? And I didn't know exactly what it was, but I think we want to test ourselves. We want to be scared sometimes, and we want to challenge ourselves. Way too often in this modern society, and it's not only young people, although it seems to be them more often than not, don't want to ever be challenged. They don't want to ever have to feel bad.
I would argue lots of old people hate being challenged.
Well, okay, yeah, what I mean is this whole thing about being triggered. I don't want to be triggered either, but at the same point when I watch movies, I do. The Conjuring was a horror movie we covered last month that got in my head for a few days. Why do you do that to yourself? I don't know, because you want a reaction. You want to feel this. Sometimes you need to wallow. I think way too often the modern era, okay, whatever age people are, way too often people that live now don't want to ever feel bad, don't want to wallow. And sometimes you're going to learn from feeling tough stuff. And we just said it. A movie like this with Dylan Baker, a pretty sympathetic actor, not a star, although he said the whole thing about how, oh my God, the big stars that were offered this role, and a lot of them were. I think Jeff Bridges was on the list and many other big stars. I think maybe Jeff Daniels.
Because Solondz was coming off the success of Welcome to the Dollhouse. Right. It was his first film. It was a Sundance hit. He was an indie darling. And there's probably a lot of people who would have considered doing this movie just because of the cachet he had at the time. Oh, yeah.
But Baker said this didn't hurt his career at all.
The type of actor he is, I can see how that's true. He's always going to be a character actor. He's not handsome enough to be like a true Hollywood star. He almost got a good superhero villain role because he was in Spider-Man 2. the professor who in the comic books becomes a lizard.
Well,
but
he's
I guess
Kirk
they
Connors, yeah.
Yeah, they just never pursued that plot line in the end. He's a bit of a that guy actor. I love him. I was introduced to him in this film, and I just love this film from the jump.
But the point being that I think that movies and artwork and songs and books and all this stuff should challenge you. This whole thing in Florida about how don't say gay, they don't call it that bill, but that's what it apparently is, the don't say gay bill. And so much of America doesn't want to talk about race. If you're that fragile, and that's what this comes down to, I think, religious fragility especially. So the answer is, there is no answer. They're that fragile. But if you're going to claim you're not that fragile, then don't you want competing opinions? If we got pushback in our reviews all the time, I'd want people to be fair. They shouldn't just say, I'm stupid and I talk too fast. Oh, breaking fucking news. But if they actually had a point to make about what I say, you say, fine, let's engage in conversation. We don't need our asses kissed. I think way too much of our modern culture, no matter what the age is, this certainly applies to fucking Trump, and it applies to all kinds of liberals too. They need their asses kissed all the time. This kind of movie doesn't do that. And if you're somebody who's ever been abused, I get why you wouldn't want to watch this kind of movie, for sure. But for the rest of us, and I can't watch that, well, then you don't have to. I don't expect you to. This is not some mainstream movie. But this whole notion that this is a movie that's dangerous, I think it was on the list of most dangerous movies of various things. I think that's kind of stupid.
How is it dangerous?
So Kevin Bacon, now not exactly an absolute tippy-top A-list star, but you call him A-list, way more than Dylan Baker. He did The Woodsman. He was in jail for pedophilia, and he's out now. And he's trying his fucking damnedest not to go back down that route, but they put him in a halfway house, or not, whatever, a house, an apartment, right across from a school. And as I recall, the plotline becomes that he suspects somebody else is a pedophile, and he wants to try to stop that from happening, and he's befriended a young, maybe black girl, but some young person. And the whole tension is he going to do this again? So Kevin Bacon was willing to take that on. I'll dive into this. I think maybe we've said this in the podcast before, but if we haven't, I will break the seal now. So somebody's got child porn on their computer. Nobody was posing for it. No kid was hurt by this, but they drew the thing, or it was a story. They literally wrote a story, and maybe it's graphic and it's terrible. It's going to be a guy, let's face it. It might be some women, but mostly guys. Gets off on this, whether he beats off or whatever it is that gets him to the point where he's not going to go out and try to find Johnny or the, what's his name again, the Farber kid.
Ronald.
Right, so he's not going after literal people. If that helps, if that makes a difference, like Bill in this movie, would you ever fuck me? No, I jerk off instead. What he says to his own son, which implies he has jerked off thinking about his own son.
And also that he has an ethical code.
Right, but
like he has
of course that's terrible. Yeah. But if he's not going to hurt his own son, isn't that better? But he even thought about it ever. He should go to jail. I don't want anyone to have to go through this, but they're not doing it on purpose. Even the worst child molester probably doesn't want to be that way. Well, maybe some of them do. But most of them don't want to be that way.
There's probably lots of pedophiles that never act on it, right?
Yeah, because they have an outlet.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know that the solution is not to treat them all like monsters, like they're not even human, because there are people out there who don't want to do bad things, but their brain is wired wrong, and they are attracted to children. Not even just that, and I think they show this with Johnny Grosso. It's not just that he's attracted to Johnny. He's in love with him.
When he sees him on the baseball field, it's almost like a, why do birds suddenly appear?
It's not porno music. No, he's in love with him. I watched this really great documentary that played at the Hot Dogs Festival and never really got a wide release, and sadly I cannot remember what it was called. But it was a guy who was like 19 years old, and he was like, I'm a pedophile. This is my life. I've never acted on it, but this is how I feel. These are the challenges. It was heartbreaking. Okay. And they interviewed other pedophiles who had gone to the extent of chemical castration, all the means that they go through to not act on their impulses. And it really does ruin their lives. And it's one of the only pieces of media I've ever seen. Oh, actually, This American Life did an episode about this too. And it was about this young man who is a pedophile, but had never acted on it. And how hard it was for him to seek help. He would see therapists and he would tell them the truth, and they would basically stop treating him. I don't know what to do with you. You're a monster. Yeah.
Even professionals did that.
Even professionals don't have the training or the means or the desire to help someone who's
and they
like
don't want
this.
The stigma also.
Yeah. And so this is why I watch a movie like this. Yes, it's a comedy. Yes, it's fictional. But I feel like this movie does more to help children, to help pedophiles. That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but it's really thought-provoking, and it's part of what makes this movie so great. And 25 years later, is there another movie that takes this approach? The closest thing I can think of is Little Children.
I did not like that movie, mostly because I think the voiceover narration. I remember hating it.
I love it. I love an omnipotent narrator.
I do too, but I remember hating that one. Although Jackie Earle Haley, as I recall, was great as the child.
He was
molester,
so great, yeah.
pedophile.
And he was a character that you empathize with, that you feel terrible for in his circumstances.
He hates himself.
He hates himself, but at the same time, he gets in the pool with the kids and everybody chases him out and outs him. You're like, yes, get him the fuck away from those kids. You do not actually belong in proper society, but God, proper society does not have an answer to this problem
Because
at
he's
all.
in proper society, so we can't just pretend he doesn't exist. Okay, let me give you the bona fides in this movie. There are a decent amount of them. The Rotten Tomatoes critics like the film. 83% of them give it a positive review. 7.8 out of 10 is the average. That's pretty solid. There are 47 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and 89% of audiences. It was fifth on Roger Ebert's top 10 that year.
I can't believe 89% of audiences love it, but
More than the critics.
that is incredible.
Maybe because they appreciate that this movie is entertaining and also that it's funny. About pedophilia and about suicide and about dismembering a corpse and a lot of terrible things. Cheating on your wife and all kinds of rough subject matter. Welcome to the Dollhouse, which we covered almost 2 years ago, has Todd Solondz's best reviews, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 5 of his 7 films have fresh reviews on that site. I'm a little bit surprised because you get past Welcome to the Dollhouse, which I didn't love, but I definitely liked it. Same with this movie. I've got my issues with it, but I would give it a thumbs up. Storytelling, which I saw again in the last maybe 5-6 months. I think the only movie I ever saw of his on the big screen. I guess I'd give that a thumbs up, but I don't think the other movies really hit me at all, and yet 5 out of 7 got thumbs up from the critics.
I remember Helen Drones really sat with me for a long time. He's best when he's funny, and he's funniest with these 2 films.
The film was 170th, so 170, at the 1998 U.S. box office. Saving Private Ryan was number 1. The 2 of them, what a pair that would make. Armageddon was number 2. That would also make a great doubleheader. We covered that a few months ago, though. There's Something About Mary was number 3, a funny film. And The Truman Show, also a funny film, was number 12. This movie got no Oscar nominations, but won the, I think it's pronounced Fipresci, F-I-P-R-E-S-C-I, all in capitals, at the Cannes Film Festival. And Solondz's screenplay was up for many awards in various places. I think he was up for the Golden Globe, even. What was written on the, I guess the award, whatever you give the person at Cannes for the Fipresci, said, for its bold tracking of controversial contemporary themes, richly layered subtext, and remarkable fluidity of visual style. The funny thing about the visual style point of this, and this isn't the movie's fault, the only way we could watch this movie was on YouTube, and it was a horrible but it was watchable. The sound was fine. It just looked so bad. It's not Solondz's fault when that's what's on YouTube, but visual style, there is none of what we saw, at least.
No, it's a shame. I don't remember the movie being a gorgeous film, but it did have a pretty intentional look, and that is trying to go for this pristine, sunlight-dappled, suburban, sitcom-esque.
The music is Leave It to Beaver-esque. 50s style music. I love that
Dylan Baker looks
choice.
like a sitcom dad.
Yeah, look at that haircut.
Oh, yeah, totally. Now let's address the fact that you cannot find this film almost anywhere. If you want to watch it, you can watch the crappy version on YouTube. I'm sure that there's other websites, watchitnow.com or whatever.
I found something, but it was no better.
Streaming, right.
I showed you.
The same crappy prints.
We paused it 40 seconds in, and it was really not going to be better.
You can buy the DVD, not even a Blu-ray. You can buy the DVD from Amazon for $45.
No, thanks.
Our library no longer carries it. I even looked on eBay, and it was even more expensive to buy it from eBay. It was called one of the best films of the 90s. Many critics put it on their long list, not their short list, but it was a film that was remembered as one of the most important films of the 90s. Roger Ebert put it in his top 10 films of 1998. It was number 5. This was a film that was lauded, it was seen, it was remembered, and in my opinion, it was important, and you can't find it anywhere. The company that owns it is one of those companies that's been bought and sold a half dozen times, and you just know that there are these executives out there that could decide to do a print, to do my Herzog impression, they're cowards.
Use the puppet, you cowards.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't have the guts to take the slings and arrows that would come with releasing a controversial film that people are going to judge without ever seeing it. You would certainly agree that landscape has gotten worse. There are more people that would have more caustic things to say and more causes to take up and fight without ever watching the film.
Because of social media. We can hear what anybody thinks about anything. And on both sides of the aisle, this kind of movie is probably a piss-off. So, yeah, well, let's not even go there. I don't really blame corporations for not wanting to piss off their customers. But if you make a movie like this, then just say the movie stands on its own. I'm thinking of, say, Dogma, which came the year after. Harvey and Bob Weinstein were going to do it through Miramax because they were always Kevin Smith's people. The 2 movies he made, maybe 3 movies he made before that. But then, oh my God, it was actually Disney, really more so than Harvey and Bob. They said, nope, we're not going near the movie about controversial God stuff. So they sold it to Lionsgate. But if you're going to make a movie like this, then, like we just said with Herzog, don't be cowards. Not everything has to be the one that reminds people, of the Disney's sake, of Mickey Mouse. Have other things and tell the religious right. Okay, get worked up about things. Fine. But not everything's a fucking emergency. But that's what Twitter and, I don't know about TikTok and the other, I know Twitter, I know Facebook. Everything's a fucking emergency. No matter what your political beliefs are. Everything's got to be, So this kind of movie, yes, it's just easy to say, no matter what you believe, well, it's obviously against the movie. It's not for it if you act this way. Nope, I just did it. Put your fingers in your ears. Doesn't exist.
And this is a movie that is just not for everybody. Not every film is for everybody.
Right, and this movie is not going to be for everybody. Even if you haven't been triggered by your own experiences, you're always going to cut slack for people if it's a movie about suicide or about murder or about child molestation or about, I don't know, choking to death on too many breadsticks. If that happened to somebody that you care about, or if you're the person that's got these issues yourself, I don't blame you for not wanting to see this movie. That's fine. But then you don't have to watch it. That's the problem, is that no one should ever watch this because it bothers me.
It's like I was saying about that critic. He was bothered by it because he couldn't relate to it at that time, and it scared him and he felt threatened by it. I am a person who struggles with depression and anxiety, and there have been some pretty dark times in my life, particularly with depression. And I find the movies that I gravitate to are movies about that subject matter.
Melancholia all over.
Melancholia,
right?
I feel so deep in my heart. It is a far from perfect movie, and I would struggle to defend it. But it's a really important movie to me because it just gets to the core of what depression can feel like.
And tackles the weight of it.
Tackles it with
it's not subtext.
Oh, it's not
text.
cute. Yeah, exactly. I am comforted because I feel less alone when I see a movie like that. So, yes, this movie isn't for everybody, but maybe it's exactly for people who, maybe not necessarily victims, but people who come from dysfunctional families, people who are having their own existential crisis, who can't seem to get their adulthood together, who've had their lives blown up in one way or another because they were kidding themselves the whole time that they had it all, or however you want to put it.
Like Joy.
No, Trish. Trish is the one who truly has her life blown up. And I wonder if those are the people that need this movie the most.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, but of course, if you're not in headspace to watch it, you're not in headspace to watch it.
So we're way past opening thoughts, but I know you probably wrote something down.
I do have opening thoughts. Of course, I love it. I mean, it's obvious. I was a little worried that this may have been one of those movies that I just loved when I was in college because it was so subversive, but I think it's better and even more essential now, 25 years later in 2023, both because I'm older, so it really does hit different.
And because you're into kids.
And because I've really come into my pedophilia. And because
quickly, by the way, Johnny, a 3, maybe a 6.
Oh my God, stop right now.
He's all right.
But also because I think the
Billy's
world is even more get this point out if it kills me before you get yourself arrested. And because the world is even more divisive about some of these issues, and Solondz's screenplay plus some really incredible performances are so insightful that I think it has a timeless quality. Also, it is so funny. You and I laughed a lot.
Yep.
I compared it to the Coens earlier because I feel like it's like The Big Lebowski in that it's the rare comedy. Yes, that's right. It's a rare comedy that gets funnier every time I watch it. I get lines make more sense because they're really clever and they allude to things that happen later or earlier.
Especially the dude's dialogue.
The dude's dialogue, but I'm talking about in Happiness. There's tons of lines in there that come back around. Yeah, the dude, everything he says is... And you don't catch on to that until you've watched the movie 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It's like a magic trick that it just keeps getting funnier. And I really think that's true about Happiness, too.
Well, to have a guy who we know wants to fuck a kid, we don't have evidence of that yet because he hasn't been with Johnny, and then Ronald Farber is in the future. So whatever he's done before, if he has, we don't have evidence of him doing that with other boys. But in the scene with the tuna fish sandwich, Dylan Baker plays that by no means over the top. This is why his performance is fantastic, actually. But almost that desperation.
Yeah.
You gonna eat that sandwich? Are you gonna eat that sandwich? And I wouldn't say we laughed out loud in the sense of, clutching our chests, but it was a funny moment.
You laugh at yourself.
You shouldn't be rooting for that. It should be, kid, kick that thing away. He doesn't know, of course. The thing I didn't pick up on, which I should have, but I've only ever seen this movie twice, and it's been a long time since I saw it the first time. He's also spiked everybody else's cake, so they'll all pass
ice cream.
out.
It was the hot fudge on the ice cream.
Okay, that's it. So they'll all pass out, and he can have his way with the kid. I thought, from my memories of the movie, it was just about spiking the kids. I knew it was a tuna fish sandwich, just about that. But they all just went to bed because they got tired. But he makes sure that they do go to bed because they got tired because of the drugs, which is even more subversive, actually, because he's not going to touch Billy. We know he doesn't want to. He says that later on. The other kid, not the baby, not his wife. It's about Johnny only, but he needs them out of the way.
You notice the detail the next morning when Johnny throws up on his breakfast. The implication being, wow, he really dosed him a lot. Johnny says he doesn't feel well because he's basically been poisoned, right? He's been given too much. And this is a kid who's, like 60 pounds soaking wet? He's this slight little boy. He's like 10 years old.
It's like he's puking up cum.
He's vomiting because he has a trauma he doesn't even realize has happened to him.
No, but look what he's puking up. If it was red, it wouldn't be the same. It would look like blood.
Okay, I had not thought that. Although
when I first saw that was my instant go-to. Whenever I first saw this movie, it's almost like, did he fuck his mouth?
That could be like a reference to what Alan says when he makes the obscene phone calls. He says something to the effect of, like, I'm going to fuck you so hard that cum's going to come out of your mouth.
There you go. That's connected, I think.
Yeah.
And when the kid pukes, call us fucking sick, but we laughed at that.
I know. I mean, call us sick
shouldn't, but we
for
did.
liking this movie as much as we do in the
Just
first
like
place.
when Billy reveals, oh yeah, Ronald Farber's over there by himself. Oh shit, do we need milk? I'll go and get the milk. I might be a while, honey, but I'm going to go get the milk.
It's the PTA meeting. He lies and says,
oh, that's what it is.
PTA
Yeah,
meeting.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The milk's a different scene, I guess. But the funny thing, too, another thing I'd forgotten is how he and Trish, they're not doing it anymore. And yet, the first time he goes home in the movie, they're touchy-feely. They don't do anything, but they seem to have a close relationship.
Yeah, they're very affectionate.
And
but when she tries to have sex with him, he denies her.
Yeah, but it's just interesting. I love that touch that she's not cold to him, the way that her sister Helen is cold with everybody. Obviously with Alan especially. She loves when he talks her off on the phone, but then she meets him and, oh God, you're hideously ugly, so no, I don't want to be around you anymore.
And like one of the funniest scenes in the movie, too, when he's just so slow you can barely perceive the movement, trying to move his hand across the couch to touch her. And the music is building up, and then, this isn't going to work.
I can see the three named actors both laughing in that moment.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, Laura Flynn Boyle.
Both laughing, because it's the kind of thing where you could do it multiple takes, and that is funny as you just slowly creep across.
I was listening to an interview with Todd Solondz, and I love this little detail. He said that he cast Philip Seymour Hoffman, who also was in Big Lebowski.
And so was Ben Gazzara.
Was Ben Gazzara again?
He plays the Jordan's dad.
And who's he?
In Big Lebowski, he's the pornographer.
Yeah, that's right.
He's Jackie Treehorn. Complete 180, too, because he's, I wouldn't say desperate. I guess everybody in a way is desperate in this movie. But he's his unhappy dad who fucks a friend and doesn't get anything out of that, wants to be alone more than anything else. And at the end, he is with his family. Ironically, the last scene he has, all the Jordans are together, apart from Bill. But he wants to be alone. Now he's really not alone. There are kids there. There are daughters there. Of course, his wife is still there. But he's so cool in that brief scene in Big Lebowski as the pornographer, Jackie Treehorn, and now here he is not being cool at all. And then Hoffman, you said before that he's your favorite character in Big Lebowski.
He's so funny in Big Lebowski. I love him so much. I just love him as an actor in general. But
they share no scenes, by the way, in either movie, but then the same two movies in the same year.
That's so cool. Solondz said that he had to cast him because he fell in love with his clammy handshake.
Is this Hoffman?
Yeah.
Hoffman did do Desperation pretty well. We didn't cover him all that many times in our podcast till the last couple of years, because we did Boogie Nights last year, we did Before the Devil Knows You're Dead last year, and I think we did one other one, didn't we? 25th Hour.
Yeah.
Where he plays a character that's not that far away from Alan in this. This guy who can't connect with people, who's a weirdo.
Kind of a dirtbag.
Bit of a dirtbag, yeah. Wants to make out with a student. Is obsessing about somebody younger, which is not his thing in this movie, but he's cold calling women in the phone book. Now, when he calls Joy, do you think that's just coincidence that he happens to call the sister of his neighbor, or do you know that...
Well, he's calling everybody with her last name. He's going through the phone book, and he's trying to find his neighbor, right? So that's why he crosses off names, because he's trying to find Helen. He knows her last name, but he doesn't know much else about her, so he's calling everyone with that last name. Okay. So it's not a coincidence he calls Joy. Now, there's an illusion at the end of the film that Helen is going to set Joy up with him, because she's saying, I've got a guy for you.
Oh, I missed that part.
And in the sequel, Life During Wartime, they are together when he kills himself.
I have some What Happens Next, by the way.
Yeah.
I think Helen gives Alan another shot to be her phone sex buddy, because being berated and treated like a sex object seemed to be what she needed and wanted. So that's entirely possible, isn't it?
And it's depraved. It's not cute.
She's, what we hear all the time is imposter syndrome. She doesn't feel like she belongs, that she's smart, that she's worthy of, she's a novelist or something like that.
Yeah, she's a writer.
Pretty successful. And she feels like she's a complete phony. And when she gets this random phone call from this guy who lives just a couple doors away, she doesn't know it's him at the time, though. This is exactly what she needed, which is, of course, also a controversial thing because, no, she needs to be told she's beautiful and perfect. She probably should get with a guy that she's attracted to. She's not attracted to Alan, that's fair. Who she would fuck and fuck and fuck. But in that, he just makes her feel like a piece of shit because that's what she seems to want.
The monologue in her head. Oh, I wish, this is terrible. I wish I was raped as a child and then I would be more authentic. Because she thinks she's a phony. So that's part of her attraction to him, is that she thinks it'll make her authentic if she has a relationship with somebody who's this inappropriate, I guess. But of course, in her fantasy of it, he's somebody she would want versus who actually shows up at her door.
As terrible as that is very truthful, which is, if he looked even... I love Hoffman, one of the greatest actors of all time. It still hurts me to think it was 9 years ago that he killed himself.
I know.
Same year as Robin Williams did, unfortunately. We got one of the great comedians of all time and a great actor in his own right, and just one of the greatest actors that killed themselves in the span of a few months. But if Alan was even just more like, say, Bill, maybe Helen would say, let's do this.
Yeah, but
that's honest. Like so many movies would be, yeah, but you made me feel what I need to feel, so I don't care if you're not attractive. There are people out there that would be enough. But this character also wants to fuck the guy, and this guy doesn't make her want to fuck him.
And he only wants to fuck her because she's hot. So,
yes.
Solondz, this is a topic he loves to come back to over and over again. Life for ugly people. He is one of the few filmmakers out there that I think is really interested in examining the gulf between pretty people and ugly people. Welcome to the Dollhouse deals with this explicitly.
Yeah.
Dawn's problems stem from the fact that she's not pretty like her sister. There's a point where the bully is picking on her really bad, and she says, "Why do you hate me so much?" And the bully's answer is, "Because you're ugly." Alan and Christina, so Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Cameron Manheim's character, who we haven't talked about yet, the other neighbor, who is, I'll just say it, she's fat and she's ugly. And was never an attraction.
Actually not ugly, but she's overweight.
Okay, but she's a 5 or below, right? Yeah. And they make her look like shit in this movie, too. I've certainly seen her look better. Just like Philip Seymour Hoffman, they make them look their absolute worst, and they're both also weirdos. But they're the best representatives in this film. Also, John Lovitz, I think, says the he says the tone with that pitch-perfect incel before incels monologue and the opening scene. Anyone who's seen it, he's always going to remember that breakup scene and the ashtray and his diatribe, which is very incel. Todd Solondz understood these things before other people understood these things. And John Lovitz's performance, one of the rare film performances for him, because he's not a huge film actor, but he hits it out of the park.
Especially in a serious role. He's mostly playing a serious character. And in that opening scene, too, I always thought it was a proposal, because I saw this movie so long ago. But then when Joy says, "It's just you," so it's not you, it's me, she's saying, no, it's you that's the problem. Did he made her an ashtray or did he buy it? He
bought it. He said he ordered away for it. He got it mail order.
Got her name on it.
But then, what a weird gift to give somebody who doesn't smoke.
Right.
And she says, "Oh, it's so beautiful. It makes me want to take up smoking." But it's like a weird present that he would like. It's not just his looks. Joey gave this guy a chance. She probably wanted to like him, and it just wasn't working out. It's not like Joy is a babe either. She's cuter than he is.
But we've criticized this in the podcast lots of times. Swing Time is the best example. That was in the podcast almost a decade ago. No, more than a decade ago. The whole thing with Ginger Rogers, Fred Astaire, and I forget the other guy. I'm going to be with him. Oh, that's cool. You two crazy kids were always going to work it out, weren't you?
Rom-coms do this all the time.
We've seen a lot of movies that have done it. But in this case, it's the more honest thing, which, yes, it's the complete opposite of that, but fuck you. He's so mad at her. He's so furious. I'm not sure what I would do if I was in that situation, but I'd be way more like John Lovitz, and I'd be, oh, that's just cool. If you thought that way, and of course, in those movies, it's about actual marriage. This is not. I thought it was. Going into the movie, I thought it was a proposal.
No, they've been on a few dates. They weren't that serious.
I think it would have been a better scene, actually, if he had been proposing, actually, because it goes from, I want to marry you, spend my life with you, to, I'm not really sure about that, I want to think about it, or even just a polite no to, then fuck you and die.
But I like it this way better because it is a true thing that she goes out with this guy a few times, she gives him a chance, he's just not for me, and she's breaking it off with him before he has a chance to properly get attached. Yeah. And he takes the rejection so personally, and then he kills himself. It's not about her, but poor Joy, who internalizes everything and just wants to be so nice, probably agreed to go out with him a few extra times because she didn't want to break his heart. If it was a proposal, then you would say, well, Joy obviously led him on at some point and let him believe that it was this serious. But I get the impression they haven't even slept together yet.
Maybe not.
I certainly dated guys like that who never treated me like this, but you go out with them and it's almost there. And then after like 3-4 dates, you're like, I can't lead him on anymore. And then you break it off. It happened to me too, where guys broke up with me when I was like, are we going somewhere? Oh, no, we're not.
I've been down that road too, where you feel like, do I need to commit to her already? Do I want to? I'm not really sure yet. And then nothing really big happened, but it's over. And it wasn't like I was that unhappy that it didn't work out with her, but it was more a matter of, did I misread it that badly? Am I that fucking stupid that I went from, she wants a commitment from you, to later that afternoon, no, go away from me. And I didn't pick up those signals. And by that point, I dated plenty of women. I should have known better. So I don't blame her even now, but it's more a matter of, is she mean, or am I stupid, or is it both? What is going on?
And whether you want the relationship or not, rejection is going to sting.
Always, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a line in John Lovitz's diatribe there where he says to Joy, you and not me will always be nothing. And that sentiment is repeated when Alan is talking to Helen on the phone, and he's reaching the crescendo of his dirty phone call, and he says, you're nothing. In both cases, you have these unattractive men who are trying to punch above their weight.
Yeah.
They hate these women. They want them, but they hate them.
And one of them wants to hear this, actually.
But he wants to humiliate her, and he gets off on humiliating her, but he also loves being humiliated. This is all part of this broken part of their brain, and maybe it's from being brought up in a world where I think boys, men, they watch stories all the time where the goofy-looking guy gets the hot chick because he wins at the end of the movie.
Right.
I think that's a thing that lives a little more in some people's heads than in others, and can breed a sense of entitlement that can lead to this hatred and misogyny when women don't just fall into their lap. And it's so interesting that a woman does fall into Alan's lap, because Christina comes to him. She comes to his apartment.
Cuddles
she asks him. But even before that, she asks him if he wants to go for coffee. Before he's drunk and messed up and he's just answering the door, talking to her. And she talks about how the doorman got murdered. Of course, we later learn that she murdered and dismembered the doorman. Before we know that, we just see this woman who's very earnestly trying to make a connection with him, but he's not interested in her because she's not attractive, even though they belong in exactly the same league. Yeah. So when they do kind of get together later in the film, you're like, yes, this is appropriate. Even though I kind of feel bad for Christina, not later when you find out she's a murderer, but that moment when he's drunk and depraved and she comes into his apartment, and when he's passed out, she ever so gingerly rests.
It's a great scene.
It is a great scene. The raw depiction of loneliness.
Being touched is so underrated.
Exactly. That scene, every time I see it, it drives this really strong, empathetic response that it becomes the lens that you see the whole film through. And if you watch that scene and you feel nothing, I don't know what to say. Maybe you are just the luckiest person I know, because anybody who's experienced loneliness, truly in your core loneliness, is going to see the expression on her face when she's just gingerly resting her head on his chest. A man who seems to actively hate her.
And he's passed out.
And he's passed out.
Doesn't know this is happening.
And he's belligerent.
When he wakes up, he pukes and then says, get out!
Yeah.
Get out!
And she still comes back for more. And oh no, he goes to her the next time he goes to her apartment. But she welcomes him in. Loneliness will make you do crazy shit. Make you make terrible decisions.
If Helen had let him touch her hand, didn't have to go any further than that, wouldn't have shocked me if she had broken down and cried. Because Helen's
she's also so
getting it
lonely.
sometimes, but I bet Helen's not enjoying when she's getting it from probably hot guys. Well, we see her with one hot guy, don't we?
Yeah, we see that she's not just making it up that she can have any lover she wants. She's the character that Solondz seems the least interested in. He doesn't really want to examine her. She just seems like a straightforward narcissist at times. And I wonder if it's because he is more interested in the uggos.
Laura Flynn Boyle is not named the babe of the day.
She's probably hot for New Jersey. This is the suburbs. She says, I live here ironically. I love that line. I just live here ironically. Or maybe you're not as successful as you want everybody to believe.
Because she's an imposter.
Because you're living in the same building as Alan, who's a total loser, and Christine. The building's not nice.
No, it's true. Well, we said it. I pointed this out to you. The walls look terrible. What is it? Some yellowy green thing on the wall? Really terrible looking walls.
Oh, yeah, the hallways
obviously
are so
deliberate.
Ugly. Yeah. Great production design, because they probably had the exact same set for the 3 apartments, but just dressed them differently. Because it would make sense, a building like that, all the apartments would be identical.
Yeah.
But you have Alan's apartment, which is deeply depressing, with the hats on the nails on the wall, dirty clothes all over the floor.
Unintentional connection to a movie we covered last year. I said already there's a connection with his characters in 25th Hour. The nightclub scene, he's wearing that Yankees cap. This baseball hat, what's supposed to be this classy, posh, upscale place, but he's wearing a baseball cap.
Probably cover up the fact that he's balding.
Oh, maybe that's it. But he's got 5, 6 baseball hats as if they're trophies or important things up on his wall.
Or artwork.
In this movie.
Yeah.
The Christina scenes are pretty effective and powerful, I think. Cameron Manheim does a pretty good job. I haven't seen her do a lot of things in her life. She was in The Practice. I think she was always in that, right? A regular. Wasn't Laura Flynn Boyle also in that show?
Was she? I think you're right.
Yeah, she was in that show too. So the two of them were in that show together and play neighbors in this movie, although they don't have any scenes together at all. And we already said Gazzara and Hoffman are in the same movie in Big Lebowski that year, which aren't intentional things by Solondz, I'm sure, but I love when those connections happen, unintentionally or otherwise. Because this movie is about characters that do connect without knowing it, like, say, Magnolia or Boogie Nights. No, actually,
another Hoffman movie.
Better example would be Magnolia, because Boogie Nights, I think, for the most part, they know they connect. But in Magnolia, they don't know they connect, necessarily. In some parts of Nashville, so the Altman movies do that, too. But, yeah, this movie has that right from the very beginning. One of the early, not the very first things, that's Lovitz and Jane Addams in that opening scene. But when we see, I think it might be the second scene, Hoffman and Baker, not knowing that one of them is married to one of the Jordans, and the other one's going to be, in a weird way, involved with one of the other Jordans through the whole course of this movie. How about Bill fantasizing about shooting people in the park? Now, we're recording this on October 26th. And as we record this, who knows where the story will go, some motherfucker in Maine killed, as far as I know, 16 people.
18 people.
Is it up to 18 now?
Yeah, and I think 50 to 60 people have been injured.
So maybe that's part of the problem with this movie, too, is that this guy is just randomly shooting people in a park. Columbine was the year after this.
Yeah, pre-Columbine, something like this could have been almost funny.
I think Solondz would have done this anyway, after Columbine.
You're probably right, but pre-Columbine, it was not really that controversial.
Yeah.
It was something that happened from time to time. People would have called it going postal because once upon a time a postal worker came into his workplace and killed a few of his coworkers.
The Simpsons did it with Flanders when Homer's pushing him over the edge. There's Homer, bang! There's Homer, bang! They would not have done that probably after Columbine.
Yeah, Columbine kind of changed everything. 25 years later, God, how much the landscape has changed. But it is a fantasy. Not even a fantasy. It seems like it's a nightmare. He says this time it was different because I didn't kill myself at the end. And I get the impression it was just a dream he's describing to his shrink.
Trish has no idea the way he is. Their marriage seems like it's fine. She seems happy with this man. They're just not having sex.
I know we've talked a lot about him, but we still have to talk about his relationship with his son, Billy.
Well, that's the key thing, I think, in the whole movie. I guess this could imply something to do with Billy. He goes to a pharmacy or something like that and buys a bunch of boy magazines, gets in the back of the car, and I pointed out, okay, this is controversial or not, a movie that you're not going to see the dick get pulled out and then stroke it for however long it takes to have an orgasm, 2, 3, 4 minutes.
I mean, they could have. It was unrated. They couldn't.
True.
Yeah.
But you pointed out he's that turned on. It doesn't take much at all for him to come. Because
he's like a teenage boy himself.
Yeah.
When you were a teenager, when your hormones are that strong, that's why like teenage boys jerk
I'm shooting
off.
at people in the park, and I'm shooting into this, pair of pants. While a kid is about a foot and a half away from him.
Yeah, mom and his kid getting in the car.
Next car.
And I remember the first time I watched that movie, and I had no idea where it was going. I didn't really know that much about the movie going in, and I was just shocked by that scene.
I bet you the actors that didn't want to do this movie, the bigger name actors, it's not so much the stuff with Billy, it's not so much that he raped 2 boys, it's not so much all that storyline, I bet it's that one scene. They didn't want to be in the backseat of that car with a kid a foot and a half away, unaware, and the mother, doing that. And it's not really depicted as a realistic masturbation scene, except we know that's what it is. And I bet that was what turned all these guys off as much as anything else.
So he has this deep, dark secret, but he is a therapist, and he is a great dad.
Oh, by the way,
who loves his children very much.
Recalling a joke from Three's Company, one of the misunderstandings in that show, because I've seen this one. It's about a misunderstanding, as Phoebe once said on Friends. But in Three's Company, the line was, whatever, the rapist. I think Janet has that whole thing in Three's Company.
Oh,
and then they
therapist.
Say,
oh my God, therapist, the rapist.
See?
Great call.
Thank you, Three's Company.
Okay, so, good observation. Throughout the film, there's 3 scenes where he's having these incredibly honest and forthcoming conversations with his pubescent son, who is growing up and getting hard-ons and asking his dad the hard questions. I wasn't asking my parents these questions.
Neither was I.
But he trusts his dad so much, and his dad is really brutally honest. in a way that I think any of us could never imagine having a conversation with a child. I mean, we're not parents, so of course we can't. But actually, as I say that, our nephew just went to college, and he had a new girlfriend at the time, and you had the uncle conversation with him where
we all went to dinner, yeah.
And you're like, listen here, everybody's bad at first talking about sex. You were really forthright with him about uncomfortable conversation things that you wish somebody had said to him. But the conversations that Bill has with his son, Billy, are exponentially crazier, where he's like, Dad, how big is your penis? Dad, he's lying, saying that he's come, and he's like, now, Billy, it's okay if you haven't come yet.
You know when you do the first time.
Yeah.
That still might be the best time.
Then by the end, the honest conversation becomes when Billy, very distraught, in a great child performance.
Credit to Rufus Reed. He's pretty good in this movie.
Yeah. I think you read somewhere that he didn't really even know what the other half of the conversation was.
Not necessarily all the scenes, but the last scene when it's literally talking about what happened.
Kids should not know.
They had establishing shots of him sitting down, because I think it's 3 scenes. They do this together, the 2 Bills. But the last scene, when it's a nice way he's doing it, but Billy's confronting his dad. So, did you do this to these boys? Is the nutshell what's going on there? Yes, I did, and I'll do it again. What about me? Do you want to fuck me? There's a line for you. That should be an AFI line.
God.
They would never put it in the AFI list, but no, I jerk off instead. I think when he said things about how he did fuck them, the jerk off line, I don't think the kid was there. I think it's what I read somewhere.
Yeah.
That Rufus Reed read his lines, and he does say things like, would you fuck me? But for the most part, he wasn't hearing what the guy said in response. It's like the whole thing with Danny Lloyd in The Shining. He didn't know he was making a horror movie.
Yeah.
He's probably got Kubrick on the other end of the lens saying, okay, cover your eyes, Danny. You're in our set where you're supposed to be seeing these 2 slaughtered girls in the end of the hallway. And he never sees that. He just sees his director saying, cover my eyes. Make a scream face, Danny, and then cut. What are we going to do? Can we play with this big wheel? Can I ride up and down this set all the time? The kid had no idea. Probably the same thing here. Rufus Reed probably thought, well, he must have thought something, because he did say things like, would you fuck me? He's not that young. He must know what that's supposed to mean. But maybe he was told this is a woman. He's talking to a girl. I don't know what exactly they said.
Yeah, or when we say fuck, we mean fuck you over, just to protect him from the truth of the scene. So the movie establishes in the previous scenes with him that he has these honest conversations because he's a good dad and because he's not afraid of having these hard conversations. And you sense very much that Billy benefits from these conversations.
I think so, too.
And it's exactly what he needs to hear. And so when this third conversation happens at the end of the film, and he's being so brutally honest to the point of saying, I made love to him, no, I fucked him, when he's talking about a child, they're both distressed,
but it's
like he would never consider not being honest with him because they have this great relationship. Is this a bad man who does good things, or is this a good man who does bad things?
Well, he's definitely a good dad at the very least.
Yeah.
I like that touch, though, because Billy does not understand what making love means, but when he hears, I fucked them, then it's, oh, I get that one. Which is probably a very true thing, undoubtedly a very true thing that Solondz puts in the screenplay. But also, that's a shame that that's what it comes down to, that, well, making love also is a bit of a childish way to put it.
Well, he raped him. He didn't make love to him. He didn't even fuck him.
Okay,
he raped
I'm just saying, when you talk
yeah.
about sex of any kind, though, making love is not really what it is either. Fucking, okay, it's crass, but to me that's more honest than, I've never said, I don't think anyway, I made love to my wife last night. I don't think I said I fucked my wife either, but it just seems like that's more honest than saying I made love to her, or I made love to the date before I met you. Making love sounds lame, too.
That's kind of what you,
but the point
how
is
you describe it to children, though.
But the kid didn't get it until he said the word, I fucked them. He wouldn't say rape them. Maybe, does he say? Anyway.
No, he doesn't. Johnny Grasso's dad calls it that.
Yeah.
Johnny Grasso's dad yells, you've been raped. Christine, when she tells her story about the doorman, she says, he raped me.
And they show that, too.
It even feels bold.
That's the rape
and kind of radical. Yes, it feels radical to call it rape, which is funny. We use euphemisms for it all the time, but this is not a movie that hides behind corners. It really just shows itself. The movie ends with Billy finally coming on the balcony, and because he has this relationship, the dog licks it up. Great moment of comedy there. Just in case you were letting your guard down with this movie at any point. Yeah. He comes and he has this great relationship with his dad that makes him feel very authentic and very honest and very safe. He could have run to his dad and say, I came and gotten what he wanted, but instead he runs to the rest of his family who are fucking horrified that this 11-year-old just walked in the room and said, I came.
But the last shot's his face, very slowly having a bit of a smile, and then cut to black.
Yeah. You think maybe this kid could have been okay because his dad will never hurt him, but he's still going to be raised by this dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to be okay. And when you see him in the sequel, he's not really okay. None of them are. Yeah, all the kids are pretty messed up, actually.
We see Scooge twice in this movie.
The rare Scooge in any movie.
Yeah.
In any movie that's not like a porno.
Earlier it's Hoffman. I forgot how early in the movie it is, but a projectile comes on the wall and then puts, what is it, a postcard up there? As if to say that, because there's other postcards there, that he's done this many times and he's always saving it.
He uses it as an adhesive for his postcards. Yes.
But yeah, both Alan and Billy have cum scenes, and we see it actually happen, which, well, this movie wasn't NC-17, it was just unrated. Well, the top billed actor, I think it's because she appears first in the movie, is Jane Addams as Joy.
Who's wonderful.
And she has a lot of her scenes with Vlad, who you didn't recognize, but that, of course, is a terrific character actor, especially on TV.
And one of my favorite actors, and I didn't recognize him.
Jared Harris.
You paused it, and you're like, do you know who that is? And I was like, I don't know, he looks familiar. Was he in Game of Thrones or something? And then you told me,
Mad
and
Men.
I could have kicked
And
myself
Chernobyl.
for days. I love Jared Harris. But he's such a chameleon, especially when he was younger. You would never recognize him from one movie to the next. That's part of like what I love about him. Yeah, and he's so fucking funny in this movie.
But they have sex, pretty, well, for this movie, not very graphic actually, but it's graphic enough. And he steals her guitar and CD player and gets money out of her. But the wife beats on Joy, goes to her, is it ESL, so English Second Language? That's what it seems to be.
She's a scab. She's a strike breaker.
Yeah, Vlad's in that class, although his English is actually pretty good. But then the wife comes. Well, even that's not really necessarily a proper marriage.
He says, that's not my wife. You live with her, and clearly you're in a relationship with her.
Might as well be your wife. But then he gets money out of her, meaning Joy, because he took her guitar and CD player, and then she gives him money to get them back. So Jane Addams has the stuff with Lovitz that opens the movie, and then she has that scene towards the end. I wouldn't say she's unimportant, but for me, by far, the thing that stands out the most for her character is the Lovitz scene in the beginning. Having not seen this movie for so long, I remember the cum shots, the two of them. I remember so much of the Dylan Baker stuff. I'd forgotten all about the parents and some of the other subplots. And Vlad.
I completely forgot about the parents.
And even the other scenes with Joy. But the Lovitz scenes for sure stand out so well. I think if it had been an engagement ring, it would have stuck out even that much more. We're going to have sex in a few hours if you say yes. There's love versus, I basically like to punch you in the face. So love versus violence.
It would take that level of rejection for you to reach this point. But I think virtually every woman in the world understands that there are men out there that it doesn't take very much rejection at all. There are men who react this way when they ask a woman out on a first date and she says no thank you. There are men who kill women for rejecting them.
Yeah.
She is one of the most sympathetic characters in the movie, even though she makes bad decisions, but she is very sweet. Even though she's dumb, she's naive, she's ridiculous, she's a scab. Yeah. The red flags coming from Vlad are on fire, and she still can't seem to stop herself.
Or she wants to be touched.
But not even that. He drives her home, and she's like, okay, bye. And then he takes the lead. She wants it. He plays guitar, and she falls in love, and she's definitely very into it, even to the point where the next day, after he's robbed her, she's all love-struck. She's walking on cloud nine. But I think for us to be with Joy as a character and to have that level of sympathy for her, you need her to be sympathetic in that first scene with John Lovitz, which is so important. He doesn't suggest violence, but the stuff he says is really cruel. And then other than that, we see a lot of interactions with her and her sisters. I love the interactions with her and Trish. Trish is so mean to her. She's got the vicious older sister vibe, a character she kind of reprises in Home for the Holidays. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
That was before this, wasn't it?
The other way around, maybe. That's how she got cast. Yeah, I think that's how she got cast.
That was before this.
Yeah, you're right. Again, she's the oldest sister. She's the responsible one. She's the one who's married with kids, and her other siblings, she just looks down on them, but is annoyed that she's the responsible one.
Your shit's not together versus her husband is raping boys, raping children.
But the way she talks about Joy when her and Helen are talking, she has no respect for her. She feels pity for her. Yeah. Meanwhile, of course, her husband is the one who's a pedophile.
All right, so the cast here, Phil Hoffman. We've now covered Boogie Nights, The Big Lebowski, Almost Famous, 25th Hour, and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Maybe he's been in other things we've covered, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And most of those are just the last couple of years. Laura Flynn Boyle, the object of his affection, was in Wayne's World. Hi, Wayne! Crash over the car. And that's it for us covering her so far before this, but also was in the Twin Peaks TV series, but not the movie, which we covered last year, which was 13 months ago. We did that for Scary Movie Month, but she wasn't in that. Cameron Manheim was in The Practice for a long time, did a lot of other TV shows, but I didn't see a lot of other credits, especially movie credits, that really stood out. Jane Addams was in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, one of the great movies of the last 20-plus years, and was Ula in Wonder Boys, an underrated movie of the last 20-plus years. I love Wonder Boys. John Lovitz was in 2 Tom Hanks movies, Big and A League of Their Own. It's also Penny Marshall. Did that run on SNL, which, of course, Molly Shannon, who's in this too, was on SNL. Got a lot of connections in this movie with the acting bona fides. Dylan Baker was in Requiem for a Dream 2 years after this as the doctor of Ellen Burstyn's character. Very briefly. No, wait. No, he's not her doctor. He is the doctor in Florida when Jared Leto and Marlon Wayans or Sean Wayans or one of the Wayans boys, I think it's Marlon, go down there to try to sell their drugs. Sees a very brief scene in Requiem for a Dream, actually. Spider-Man 2, you mentioned that already, and then Secretariat, which Chris and I covered on Scoring at the Movies a long time ago, so Dylan Baker's come up in my podcasts between the two of them, I guess 4 times. Cynthia Stevenson, who is Trish, was Bonnie in The Player, which we did last spring, I guess it was, 2022. A lot of stuff on TV. I think she was also in Cheers. I feel like I know that actress's voice from Cheers. Maybe I'm wrong about that one. Ben Gazzara, who's been in 1,000 things, of course, Roadhouse as well, but The Big Lebowski as Jackie Treehorn. Louise Lasser, who's his wife, I think she's very funny in this, was in Requiem for a Dream also, one of Ellen Burstyn's friends, and also was in a lot of Woody Allen films back in the day. I think she was married to him as well at one point.
Oh.
Jared Harris has a pretty good resume, but look at the TV shows, Mad Men and Chernobyl and so many other things. Marla Maples, one of my exes, she's an 8 at best. She's the one that's maybe going to sell Mona her own house because...
That's Marla Maples?
Marla Maples.
Wow.
I believe that's Tiffany's mom, right? Tiffany
Yes.
Trump's mom. Yeah, she has a small
Trump's
role here.
second wife, yeah.
And then Molly Shannon, I believe she and Matt Malloy. Well, anyway, they're, I think, also in The Office where Jane Addams works. Anyway.
Yeah, because she has a conversation with them where she goes, do you remember Andy? And they're like, is he the one with the acne scars?
Right.
Is he this guy? No, he's this one. And he died. No way. And then they are immediately talking about something else. It's a very funny scene.
Right. So Molly Shannon was in Promising Young Woman. We covered that only a few months ago. A very serious scene in that. But she's best known for comedy, of course. Todd Solondz, we've covered now Welcome to the Dollhouse and this only, but Wiener Dog, Storytelling, other movies he's done. Producers Christine Vachon and Ted Hope. There are other producers, but those are the 2 main ones. Vachon has covered an awful lot of controversial movies because she works so often with the Carol guy, the Far From Heaven guy.
Haynes.
Todd Haynes, that's exactly, yes. And then Ted Hope did a lot of excellent indie films. I didn't write any one down, but a lot of them are very good. It's appropriate these 2 would cover a movie like this, which is so harsh and tough. The cinematographer, I'm sure the movie looks okay if you see the DVD or if you saw an actual 35mm print. Maurice Alberti, she also shot Crumb a couple years before this, the documentary, and Creed. I forgot that was her.
Yeah, she's a great credits. I looked her
Because that
up.
movie looked pretty great, as I recall. Did a lot of other documentaries and also The Wrestler, which Chris and I covered for Scoring at the Movies. So she's worked in the violent sports genre a few times, The Wrestler and Creed. The editor, Alan Oxman, also did cut Welcome to the Dollhouse and other Solondz films. And this great music, this so ironic, the kind of thing that Terry Gilliam would love. Terry Gilliam hates the Spielberg, Lucas choice of music that seems like it's too obvious to him. He loves the counterpoint, counterbalance kind of music. Well, that's what's going on here, because you've got this jaunty type music with all these dark and terrible subject matters in this movie. So credit to Robbie Condor for that. Only did a few other scores, though, but he really hit it out of the park with this one.
In the interview that I listened to with him, he was talking about specifically music in his films. He said score should either introduce an emotion that's not in the scene, or it should be a counterpoint to something that's obvious in the scene. The worst thing that score can ever do is just repeat something that's already there. And I was like, yes, you are speaking my language. That actually perfectly sums up why some scores drive me crazy.
I'm open-minded about music. Sometimes I love the big, over-the-top, bombastic scores, and we've disagreed lots of times about that. But in this case, I love the fact that the music does not fit the scenes almost ever. We already said the look is terrible because of the DVD, but it was not their fault making it. The cutting, it's a long movie, but you've got a lot of characters, though, too.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's pretty close. At the very least, it keeps the pacing and the tone consistent, and the challenge there must have been tremendous. It doesn't totally understand which characters we really care about. When you talk about the stuff happening with the parents with Lenny and Mona, God, you could really trim that down to practically nothing. I'm not even sure if it serves enough purpose in the film to rationalize its existence. you thought that the tuna fish sandwich scene came much later in the film, but it's actually fairly early in the film, and then we don't come back to it till much later. You know, the audience is not thinking about anything else.
Oh, by the way, quick thing about that, because I wondered about that. Is it supposed to be that he just fondled them, or did something other than actually rape them? Did he maybe just finger their asshole? But he's telling Billy in that last scene the two have together that no, he had intercourse with their bums, these two boys.
Well, the reason he finds out anything happened, Johnny Grasso.
Because he's bleeding.
Yeah.
But why isn't he more in pain the next day? And then as the days play out, when he's in the hospital, maybe this kid just doesn't play the scene very well. Maybe Solondz didn't want to take it too far over the top. But I would think it'd be, oh, God, that hurts all the time.
Maybe he is, but he's too embarrassed to tell his friend that something's going on. He's messed up from the drugs. I guess they don't explain it perfectly. I don't really need to know the mechanics, although this film would tell you the mechanics of all this stuff. I think it's just important for them to make it explicitly clear that he did rape him. It wasn't pedophilia light.
Yeah, because he'd go to jail for the other things, too, if he'd fondled or put fingers in places he shouldn't
have. But we want to see how extreme his depravity is.
His dick came out, and it went inside of these two boys.
Yeah.
Man, that's terrible, but controversial movie. I already did some of the what happens next. I got a few more here. So Mona and Lenny stay together after all until they die unhappily. Makes sense with these two.
Who said anything about divorce?
Right.
Great laugh.
Just wants to be alone. Doesn't want to be divorced. And unless young Billy does go ahead and end it all, he's not going to do that. I was trying to be funny. Then he starts masturbating like it's a full-time job.
Well, like most teenage boys, I think that's inevitable.
We've been honest here. I'll be honest one more time. The first time, as a boy, when you come, it might be the best feeling because, for one thing, you don't know what's happening to you. I remember getting weak-kneed. My eyes were probably rolling in the back of my head and doing all kinds of crazy-ass things. Is he being too honest? Oh, that's what this movie fucking is. If that's a problem for you, fine.
And there's probably a few times that you built up to it almost happening and not reaching there and not really understanding what that feeling is, but knowing that you're trying to work towards an end. And listen, it's the same for girls. For a lot of women, it doesn't happen that early, but I figured all this stuff out on my own as a kid. I also very clearly recall the first time that it happened, not really understanding what was happening, but it was intense and crazy.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's probably associated with shame. I remember feeling ashamed about it, even though I didn't really know what was happening. But Billy doesn't feel that. It's such an interesting dichotomy between the good Bill and the bad Bill.
Also helps that the dog cleaned it up, so there's no evidence of it.
I know, but then he told everybody anyway.
He told them, but they can't actually see that he did it. Okay, then, this has been a very long episode, but not surprising. Last thoughts on happiness.
There's nothing quite like finding a film that fits your uniquely twisted sensibilities and then having the industry be so disgusted by or afraid of it that it quietly lets it disappear. Not sure what that says about me, but here I am letting my freak flag fly and ardently defending this perverted little masterpiece.
Well, to make a movie about this stuff be this funny is a minor miracle, especially considering we have a pedophile who rapes two boys. Would do it again if he had the chance. I like that he admits that. It's terrible, but in the movie sense, in the story sense, I'm glad he admits to his son, I would and will do this again. Because so many movies would not want to admit that, too, that this person's compelled to keep on doing this. It wasn't like he did it twice and I'm done. That's the truth here. Solondz, this cast, especially Dylan Baker playing Bill Maplewood, have brass balls to do this at all. But there's a point to all the misery. These are flawed and real human beings. We can't just turn up our noses and wish they'd go away, especially the Bill character. Even that rapist is incredibly human. We have to deal with the terrible reality that many grown-ups have urges just like he does and not pretend, no, it's never going to happen. Just like you can't pretend that people aren't black or that they are gay or they're trans or they think strange things against what Jesus would want. Well, fucking Jesus might accept an awful lot of these people. Maybe not the pedophile, but Jesus might actually try to talk to the pedophile rather than saying, no, go to jail, you piece of shit, forever, and thinking these things. Rough movie, but a pretty good one. In 7 days, we'll be going from the year 1998 to the year 1993, and we'll see what Anthony Hopkins, Emma Thompson, and the Merchant Ivory team are up to in what I think is the best film the Merchant Ivory team ever made, The Remains of the Day. More quiet desperation, even quieter. You read the book not long ago, too, so you're excited about this one.
Yeah, I
right?
knew we were going to cover it, and I've been meaning to read it forever, so...
The coming attractions trivia for The Remains of the Day. I know I've mentioned this in our podcast once or twice before. I forget why I brought it up, but I did. But it applies now that we're finally talking about the movie itself. The question is, a real-life butler, who actually worked for many years in Buckingham Palace, had simple advice for Anthony Hopkins on how best to play a butler. What was it?
All right, so for the answer to that question, check out next week's podcast about Remains of the Day. You already know how to find us, but let me remind you to favorite or subscribe wherever you listen, which is also where you can find our archive of hundreds of episodes that are available for free. Is there a movie you'd like to hear us cover? Well, you can make a recommendation by leaving us a rating and a review, or you could just leave us a rating and a review because you like us and you want to help us reach more listeners. It's a great way to support the podcast. We love it. We're both on Twitter. I'm at Bev Ellis, and Ryan is at MovieFeed51, or you can reach us by email, haveyouveriseennpodcast@gmail.com, and you can also find our podcast on YouTube. Our channel is at HYES Ellis. And to enjoy freshly roasted premium coffee delivered straight to you in Canada or the US, please go to sparkplug.coffee/HYES and enjoy a 20% discount.
I came.
And cut. Here, boy.